It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Worldwide Sports Radio presents the Haystack Show. With Mike Guido.
Oh, and here we go. It's a Tuesday. It's the Haystack on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, WorldwideSportsRadio.com. Mike Guido, Evan Mazza, my producer, Big J journalist, Monica Ray here as well. Here on a Tuesday, absolutely loaded today. Speedy Petey comes on at 12:30. I'm gonna rank the remaining NFL teams. There are 8 of them. I usually do top 10 on Tuesday. I'm gonna rank the remaining 8. Plenty of stuff to go over today. At the end of the show, we play What Are the Chances? But at first, we're going to start with this. So a story that is getting a lot of steam right now is whether Tom Brady is going to finish his career in New England. And I really can't believe that it's getting this much attention, but I guess I can understand it. Okay, everybody is catching up to the fact that the Patriots are losing steam in the AFC. They're clearly not as dominant as they used to be, and Brady clearly isn't as good as he used to be. And this is what we do. Dynasties that take the spiral slide down, we like to play matchmaker with its parts. It's typical of sports fans and media personalities like myself. Here's the thing. I've thought about this for a while, and not 1 second have I liked it. It makes no sense for Brady, and it makes no sense for Bill Belichick. Okay, I get that it's fun to discuss and banter about at the bar. Where do you think Brady's going? Because he's out in New England, right? He's done in New England. But let's be realistic. It makes no sense for Brady to leave. It makes no sense. Here's why. Let's put aside the non-football related factors for a second. So let's forget about the fact that his family is settled in the Northeast. His kids are getting older and they're in school. And truthfully, I'd be shocked if they supported him moving to another city because daddy's a 43-year-old guy that's accomplished everything he possibly can in the sport and should realistically be retired for about 3 or 4 years already. Let's forget about all of that for a second. Because those are really important in this, but let's just put them aside for a second. Okay, Brady's a family guy. Eventually, your family just wants to stay put. The overwhelming majority of football fans believe Tom Brady is the GOAT. I'm one of the very few that doesn't think he is. Peyton Manning's my guy. But the conversation surrounding the Patriots' legacy is who gets the most credit for the dynasty. Okay, is it Brady or is it Belichick? And there's a good amount of people on both sides. In reality, however, Brady or Belichick, neither one of them, neither Brady or Belichick, want to know the answer to that question. They don't want to do that to their lasting legacy that people will remember forever. Okay, there's a chance that Brady and Belichick both underwhelm separately. Think about it. Brady goes to the Chargers or the Colts or whoever. I'd imagine if he left, he'd probably want to stay in the AFC. He knows the head coaches. He knows the coordinators. He knows his way around the AFC. I'm assuming he'd want to stay in conference. And he misses the playoffs or barely scratches into them. Don't we automatically think differently of Brady? Same thing goes for Bill. What if he struggles with his new quarterback in New England, right? What if Jake Fromm or Jacob Eason or whoever else, Teddy Bridgewater, whoever else he brings in struggles and they underwhelm? Okay, we think of Belichick differently. All of our preconceived notions about both of them change. They all do. Okay, even if it's an overreaction, like we as sports fans always do, that's how we'll think about this. It'll be completely different. Okay, you got to think to yourself, is the grand prize of getting all the credit for the dynasty worth all the risk of your legacy taking a ridiculous hit? Okay, there are situations where people just want to split the credit and be fine with it. Okay, you're already the best. What's the point? It makes no sense. Okay, I'm in a fantasy league with a bunch of my buddies. Okay, and I made it to the championship, and the guy that I played texted me and said, hey, man, listen, like, we both made it to the championship. You want to just split the prize money? Okay, that way neither one of us gets left with nothing. We'll just split the prize money. Okay, I think the prize money was like $500, so we'd each get $250. Okay, I took it because I could care less whether or not the extra money was worth the possibility of walking away with nothing. I didn't care. I really didn't care. And you can call me a pansy. Fine, I'm a pansy. But I'm also a pansy who's $250 richer. Okay, ask yourself, if Tom Brady and Bill Belichick both retired after the season, regardless of what would have happened in the playoffs, okay, would they not go down as the best quarterback of all time, the best coach of all time, best coach-quarterback combo of all time, and the best dynasty in football history, maybe even in sports history? Okay, how much higher can you go? If Brady were to leave New England, it would be a pure ego move. Pure ego. Okay, Brady would be leaving because he wants credit for the dynasty. Okay, he wants to say, look at me in Indianapolis. Look at how great I am without Bill. Look at how great I am without the shadow that's over my head, Bill Belichick. Okay, and I know the theories that people are coming up with. He wants a better O-line. He wants receivers. He wants tight ends. He doesn't want to be under Belichick's leash anymore. It has nothing to do with any of that. Everything to do with legend and credit. Now, here's what I would do if I were Tom. If the Patriots don't want to bring me back, I'm done. It's time to spend more time with my family instead of being locked in my office watching film in my underwear. I've got 6 Super Bowl rings. I have 3 Super Bowl MVP. I have 3 MVPs. I have a career record of 219 and 64. Okay, I've made more than $212 million in my career. Okay, Giselle and I are worth over $580 million combined. Okay, I'm the greatest of all time. I'm good. I'm good. I can leave it at this and be content with where I am. I can. Okay, if I got told today that if I quit sports talk radio, and I'd be more than happy to spend every day at the... Listen, I got to go down as the greatest sports talent that ever lived. I was worth more money than God. I'd be more than happy to spend every day at the golf course with my dad. Okay, and probably my agent, because I guess he would deserve some credit too. But this would be a lot different if he were viewed lower on the list. Okay, then he could take the risk of leaving and trying to prove how great he really is. But he's already reached the Mecca. Okay, Brady's on top of the moon right now as a football player. Okay, he shouldn't let his ego get in the way of what has already been established as a phenomenal all-time career. He can't let his ego get in the way of that. Okay, now, at the same time, if I were Belichick, if Brady left, I'd retire also. Belichick and Brady should exit the league at the exact same time. Literally minutes after one announces retirement, the other one should. That's just a fact of the matter. Just have your legacies tied together forever and go down as the Greek gods of football. Whenever you let your pride and your ego get in the way, press fast forward on the downfall. You're going to be moving pretty fast. Don't make the mistake of trying to prove more than you have to. Okay, the most aggressive soldier in a war doesn't need to take out the entire opposing army by himself. He doesn't need to do. It's okay to admit that you need your brother's help. It's okay that you can admit, okay, well, listen, I could be the greatest soldier of all time, but I'd be nowhere without the thousands of guys behind me. Okay, so I understand why the conversation is being had, but the smart decision for both of them would be to never separate themselves from each other. Okay? It just doesn't make sense. Don't risk the legacy for a little more legacy. To me, it doesn't make sense. Evan, who do we have on the phone?
Matty Cap's on the line. What do you got for us, Matty?
What's up, gentlemen? How are you guys?
Hey, Matt. How are you? Matt, are you okay?
No,
you seem like you're a little heated this morning. Do you need a glass of water or something?
Oh, yeah, no, I'm fine with that, but I'm even more heated by the New York Giants. But you're talking about my man Tom Brady?
Yes. So, what do you think about what I have to say, Matt?
Well, I don't think Tom Brady's going to be going anywhere.
I agree with you. I don't think he's going anywhere either. But I think if he were to, make the decision to go somewhere else, I think it'd be a mistake for his career.
It might be a mistake, but not if it goes to the right team and the right system. Don't get me wrong. Being with Bill Belichick helps out tremendously. But I feel like if he went to Indianapolis, that could be okay for him. I feel like if he went to the Chargers, that could be okay for him. But those are the only two teams that I could possibly see him doing well. Not saying he's going to be the Tom Brady that he was in New England for all those years, but exceeding all of their expectations as a team.
Oh, okay, and that's fine. He could very well go somewhere and succeed. My point is that why would Brady take the risk of doing that to himself? Well,
he's only going to go someplace that's going to enhance him and give him a shot to win a title. And the only team that I could see that being possible, and that's ruling out the Chargers, would be the Colts. The Colts are a few pieces away from being the best team in the NFL.
The Colts are an interesting one.
But how much of an truthfully, and I'm sorry to cut you off, Evan. I'll let you get your point across in a second. How much better is Tom Brady than Jacoby Brissett at this point?
I still think he's head above shoulders better than Jacoby Brissett.
I'm not sure I agree with you.
Jacoby Brissett started off the season hot, but towards the tail end, like the last 7-8 games, the last half of the season, he was awful. They lost games that they were leading. They lost games that they should have won with ease. Like, I'm sorry. I mean, and they're the owner. Who's the owner over in Indianapolis? Is it Polian?
It's Irsay.
No, it's Irsay. It's Jim Irsay.
It's Irsay. So he even said it. He's like, he basically came out and said that they're not sold on Jacoby Brissett. So it's an interesting take, but I think if he went to Indianapolis, I think they would win that division.
Well, he might be an upgrade over Brissett, but I'm not sure he's that much of an upgrade. I mean, similar completion percentages.
Which is fair. I just think he's that much better of a quarterback than Jacoby Brissett. And maybe if Jacoby Brissett did well in the second half of the season, maybe it could change my mind. But he did not play well the second half of the season.
Yeah,
he was one of the worst quarterbacks the second half of the season.
I mean, I can make the same argument for Brady, can't I? I mean, like if we're talking about Brady and Brissett, they had if you looked at their numbers, they literally all season had the exact same quarterback rating. They both had a quarterback rating at the end of the year at 88.
Colts offensive line and the weapons, he wins easily.
Yeah, but Matt, Brady's just. I get the weapons thing, and the weapons would help him. I'm not going to be that naive, but Brady's just missing throws. You know, like he's not.
But how much of that? But you know what? How much of that has to do with his receivers and them running the routes and not running it the correct way?
Well, I mean, it's not like he's got young receivers that are new to the league. I mean, all of the receivers on his team have more. I mean, Mohamed Sanu's been in the league forever. Julian Edelman's been with him his entire career.
Say Mohamed Sanu was never good. He was never
I
a
wouldn't
number
say
one
that.
receiver.
No, you're right.
Barely a number two.
Okay, that's fine. But Mohamed Sanu's got a lot of experience. He knows offenses. He knows how to run a route tree. You know, like
how old is he?
He's pretty old.
He's 30.
But that's what I'm saying.
He's
like
31.
New receivers that could go out there and make things happen. Julian Edelman's the only receiver he had. And N'Keal Harry didn't come in for week 6, 7. So it took a little while for him to get his feet wet. I think N'Keal Harry could have a great season next season. Not saying he's not going to.
Sure.
But they still need that star-studded tight end or star-studded wide receiver.
But he hasn't had that in a while. I mean, Brady hasn't had that. I mean, Brady hasn't had that in years. I mean,
What do you mean?
even Gronk
he's had
last year.
Rob Gronkowski for a long time.
He had Gronk for a long time, but even we could admit that the last 2 or 3 years of Gronk's career, he spent most of the time hurt, and then when he was healthy, he was slower. I mean, we can make that.
I don't know about that. I mean,
Matt, we can't pretend like we never made that assumption. I mean, Gronk did not look like the same player the last 2 or 3 years of his career. For the first 7, he was unbelievable.
You want to know what he does, though? Is that he commands so much attention on the defense that it opens up things for other people. And the New England Patriots did not have that this season. They didn't have someone getting double teamed where it opened things up for other type of people.
And they were supposed
Bill
to.
Belichick thrives on that.
They were supposed to have a guy like that with Antonio Brown or Josh Gordon, and obviously with the situations that happened between the two, it never did.
Of course.
With Gronkowski, sure. I think with Gronkowski, sure, that's definitely a case. Gronk had injury problems the last couple of years, but yes, the matchup he caused. The matchup he caused for any defense. So, I mean, Gronk did make some big catches in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl. I do remember that in his final game. But that was another thing the Patriots missed. They missed a dynamic tight end, which Ben Watson, he's good, but he's 37 years old.
Bill Belichick thrives on a dynamic tight end. He's done it his last 10, 12 years, even when he ran that double
but that offense
when he had Hernandez, too.
That offense was successful even when Gronk wasn't healthy. I mean,
and that's true, too.
There were points, and this is not ages ago. This is 2 seasons ago. Rob Gronkowski would be hurt, and Scott Chandler would be the next best tight end, and the offense would still score 30 points a game. To me, the weapons thing is just another excuse on why we can't let go of how great Brady was. Okay, we're not catching up to the fact that he just isn't very good anymore. He's just not.
Well, I wouldn't say he isn't very good. Again, I think if he has the right weapons around him and he has the right offensive line, I think he's still going to go out there.
Okay, so now Tom Brady's Kirk Cousins.
No.
That's what we say about Kirk. He needs the offensive line. He needs the weapons. So he's Dak Prescott.
What is Kirk Cousins? 28. Tom Brady's 42 years old. Father Time always wins. We all know that. Father Time wins. And I'm not saying that Tom Brady hasn't lost a step or hasn't lost anything, because he obviously has. And you saw it this season. This is the first season where I said to myself, I'm like, oh my God, he's done. Okay? Like, I even came out and said that he's done. But again, I feel like if he has that dynamic weapon or two and the right offensive line, he's still going to flourish.
Now, this is where I posed a question about the Colts, and I've seen the Colts be brought up a lot in conversation for Tom Brady. That's a now, does Tom Brady go to the Colts? That's a team that for 15 years they had a rivalry with and had battle after battles with the Colts. And
of course,
not only that, the biggest reason he was suspended for 3 games with Deflategate, that was the Indianapolis Colts, who came out and broke the Deflategate stuff. They were suspended for 3 games.
But you know what? Tom Brady will come on the cheap. Actually, his contract's over, number one.
I don't think Brady's taking a pay cut, Matt. Brady's already said he's not taking a pay cut.
Too, but now I sit here and how's that?
Matt, you're going to have to repeat yourself entirely because we just lost you for a second.
I said, why on earth would he sell his house in the Boston area? That's what I sit back and think about.
Well, you think he's putting his house on the market as a leverage point to Kraft?
Do you think he's that much of a person to do something like that? I don't think he's like that.
I don't know.
But I mean, it makes you think, is what I'm getting at. It makes you think, like, why would he do that?
I mean, it does. It does. Look, like I said, my entire point to this argument is that if he goes somewhere else and struggles, it hurts his legacy, because the number one story in American media would be, well, I mean, see, that's what he is without Belichick. Even if it isn't true, that's the story. So I don't understand.
Of course, and that's what it's going to be. But there's so many different factors. And what happens?
I think we lost him.
Or say he gets to an AFC title game.
Then it heightens his legacy. That's fine. There is a risk-reward to this. But what I'm saying is that what's the need in Brady heightening his legacy? He's already considered by 99% of people the greatest of all time. So how much higher can you go? To me, there's no point in trying to heighten his legacy because he's already reached the Mecca. He's already reached the top of the list. He has Super Bowls.
But do you think he cares about anything anymore? Like, maybe he wants to come out and prove to people that he could win somewhere else. That it wasn't just Bill Belichick, because that's what people say.
Well,
Bill Belichick system.
Yeah, but really, Matt, how many people actually believe that? He's got
to a point. You have to be in the right system always, so the coaching.
Well, yeah, no, I think that there are plenty of people on both sides, but my thing is that to me, there's no point. Like, if Brady is already at the top of it, because there are still people that think that Brady's a system quarterback, but they have to call him the greatest of all time because he's won 6 Super Bowls. If that's the deal, then what's the point for Brady anymore?
But exactly, then what's the point? Then why not just retire then?
That's my thing, and I said it yesterday. I said it yesterday. Brady, after this year, should retire. That would be my first course of action for Brady, but that point's moot because he's not going to, and he's going to try and compete, and I think it's going to hurt him. I really do, because I don't think Brady has much good football left in him. He's going to give you a solid game every now and again, but the overall, for the rest of his career, as long as he plays, he's going to give you years like this where he's going to complete 60% of his throws, and he's going to throw 25 touchdowns and 10 picks. Like that, he's going to be nothing more than maybe a little below average for the rest of his career.
Which, you know what, you may be right, but sometimes in the right system and with the right place, that's all you need to be. And, and I'm not a big component of that, because I'm a big component that if you go to the Super Bowl,
right,
he's going to have to go out there and make something happen. Can Tom Brady still do that is the question.
We'll see. All right, Matt, thanks for the call, man. I appreciate talking. Oh, by the way, before I let you go, because I didn't get a chance to talk to you about this, Dallas Cowboys, they hire Mike McCarthy. What do you think?
Are you kidding me? What did I tell you when you texted a couple days ago about that? You know I love it. I think that's a great hire for you guys.
I'm not sure. Listen, I'll be truthful. I'm not sure.
After what the Giants
about to say Joe Judge.
Joe Judge.
I'm going to throw up.
Oh, and they're going to interview Jason Garrett for offensive coordinator.
Hold on a minute.
Jason Garrett's going to go to the Browns.
Matt, before you do get upset, just remember, special teams coordinator. He's a special teams coordinator. You know who else is a special teams coordinator?
He's a wide receivers coach.
But he was a special teams coordinator.
He was a special teams coordinator too.
And you know who is also special teams coordinator? John Harbaugh. Keep your head. Keep your head up, man.
That's a really high.
Keep your head up.
I mean,
I'm just saying.
John Harbaugh's a top 4 coach in the whole league.
Just saying. Keep your head up.
Right now, he is. That's a high ceiling that he would have to get to with a garbage New York Giants run.
Just saying. Keep your head up.
All right. Good talking to you, Matt. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, guys.
I think it's interesting.
All right.
But I think it's interesting, too, the Gronkowski point that while Gronk missed some time, Brady did still play well even without Gronk. Now, I think that's a testament to both Brady and Belichick.
It does.
And Gronk is so great.
But it's a testament to Brady a couple of years ago. I think I've been saying this forever, and I keep I hate to say it like this, but I keep getting proven right because Brady keeps losing games that he shouldn't be losing. I mean, if I would have told you that the Patriots entered a playoff game in Foxborough
and lost to Tennessee,
and lost to a team, not even Tennessee, lost to a team with Ryan Tannehill at quarterback, and he only threw for 72 yards, you'd say, "Oh, the Patriots won by 30." No, they lost by a touchdown. I mean,
I think also you can make the case it happens. I mean, Brady also has playoff losses.
Yeah, but it does. It's never happened to the
Mark
Patriots.
Sanchez on his resume. He also has playoff losses to Jake Plummer and Mark Sanchez at home on his resume. Not saying you're not. I understand your point, but sometimes there is a certain point where it does happen, where teams like that happen. Derrick Henry was fantastic on Saturday. He ran for 180
yards. Yeah.
180 yards.
No, he was phenomenal. He was phenomenal. But even then, the Patriots in Foxborough, when the Titans' offense is extremely one-dimensional, they can't pull out even a squeamish of a win.
No,
that's That's where I'm getting trouble. And then in the last game that you played, you lost to Miami.
That was bad, and that was a costly loss. That
You know what I mean? Like
extremely costly.
Ryan Fitzpatrick torched you, and Brady couldn't rebound in that game at all. So, like I said, I do think that weapons is a problem. I do think that he doesn't have a lot of wide receivers. I'm not going to say that this is entirely on Brady, but if we think that his weapons are the primary issue, then we're misdiagnosing Brady's problem. You know, Brady is just, he's not mobile. He can't escape pressure. He's getting older. The arm strength's not there. And he's missing throws left and right.
Brady's never been
those
able
dump-off throws that Brady's been known for the past half decade.
Brady's never been a mobile escaper, but he's always been, and I've always said this about Brady, where he's really smooth in the pocket. He just takes a couple steps left, couple steps forward. He's able to kind of avoid pressure like that in a sense. He's always been very aware of his pocket awareness is one of the best I've ever seen.
Right, and he's still like that.
Still does that, yeah.
But the problem is that even if he does take that little step right and he's able to deliver the football, most of the time it's behind the receiver.
That did happen. That did happen,
you know what I mean?
sometimes during the year. That did.
Those are the things that I'm seeing that's just like, yeah, it isn't going to get any better for Brady from here. He's 43 years old.
And that's where the best fit for him still remains New England, because again, the Colts is still the
exactly.
The Colts is really
that's what I'm saying. Is if he were to stay, he would. Which is why I said, listen, if I were Brady, I'd retire. But if he were to stay in football, I feel like he shouldn't have a choice but to stay in New England. It's the only thing that makes sense. Okay, because if at this point in his career he separates himself from Bill Belichick and he struggles somewhere else, he doesn't make the playoffs, or he goes 9-7, or he goes 8-8 and barely squeaks in, or whatever somewhere else, that's going to be a negative look on Brady. Even if it shouldn't be, it will be.
Now that's a question of legacy. That's a question of Terry Bradshaw retired in '83. Chuck Noll still was the head coach after '83. Chuck Noll was still the head coach for a while.
Yeah.
Until in '91, they did go to an AFC title game, but there were some years where they missed the playoffs until Noll left. So do we say, well, Bradshaw made Noll because Noll never got back to a Super Bowl after Bradshaw retired? You know, we don't really say that. Joe Montana obviously was traded. They brought in Steve Young to Bill Walsh brought in Steve Young. Young, there was the whole quarterback competition. Walsh retired after they won their Super Bowl. Montana was eventually traded for Steve Young. Montana still did win a little bit in Kansas City, but didn't go back to Super Bowl. So we never really asked about whether that affected each other's legacy. Steve Young ended up winning a Super Bowl with George Seifert. So I think that's, to me, I don't think either of them affects their legacy if they do depart from each other. Because they're like,
even if they struggle,
even if they struggle or so, even if they do struggle, I don't think it departs. I mean, Bill Belichick. Everyone thought Bill Belichick was a failure of a head coach before he came to New England. His first year in New England was 5-11, 6-10 with Drew Bledsoe at quarterback. Not a shot to Bledsoe. He was a pretty solid quarterback. But first year in New England, they
right,
were
and then Brady comes in and they skyrocket. Right? No, exactly. So it is very possible. But the fact that we're having this discussion of who gets credit for the dynasty, right? And it might not be a solidified answer. What I'm saying is that because that conversation exists, whoever struggles first is going to take the blunt of, well, if they maybe somebody else would have succeeded in that role even more. I already think that. I already think that if Peyton Manning was in Tom Brady's shoes, they'd have 10 Super Bowls. But
I mean, we bring up Peyton Manning. Do we bring up Peyton Manning? Did Dungy's legacy get hurt because Peyton ended up going to Denver, had success, and ended up going to 2 Super Bowls? I don't think.
I think it kind of did.
I don't.
Because I
don't know if that's true. Then again, Dungy
might not have been.
Dungy wasn't there when they drafted him.
But here's the thing: Dungy and Peyton was never like. It was never a conversation of Peyton's making Dungy or Dungy's making Peyton. We always have the conversation of, oh, Brady's making Belichick or Belichick is making Brady. That conversation exists. But Manning and Dungy was just a great combination. We never questioned how great either one of them were without each other. You understand what I mean? Like, because Tony Dungy was proven without Peyton, and then Peyton was proven without Dungy. They already kind of established that.
Sure.
So we never had that conversation. Brady and Belichick they're not separated from each other. Their legacy forever will be 20-year dynasty with each other. They're both the greatest of all time. To me, there's no point of even trying to give people the possibility of furthering that conversation. It doesn't make sense because how much higher can you go? You know what I mean?
You can't go anywhere higher than you.
That's what I mean. So to me, there's no point. To me, there's no point in separating yourself.
No.
So
I also think Brady shouldn't stay there because again, I don't think there shouldn't be many quarterbacks looking for a 42, 43-year-old answer. Even if for Indy, why would he go to Indy after 15 years of that rivalry? And of course, the whole Deflategate issue that came up. Yeah, the whole Deflategate issue. Why would he go to Indy in the first place? That was you could make the case. Other than Baltimore and the Jets and Pittsburgh and Denver, the Colts were their number one rival. Why would he go to Indy and kind of stick it to to stick it to the Patriots? It would kind of feel like a stick it to the Patriots kind of move.
The Chargers, I will say this though, and we got to leave it at this.
That would make even less sense.
Well, the Chargers, I think, would make terrible sense for Brady, but it would make the most sense for the Chargers. That's the thing is I feel like that's semi-realistic because the Chargers can't sell out a soccer stadium. They're opening up a new stadium in Los Angeles, and the Chargers got to sell tickets. And if Brady's their starting quarterback, they're going to sell tickets.
Oh, of course they'll sell tickets.
So they might be trying to lure Brady, say, hey, listen,
I think also
come on over.
I think also for the future of the Chargers franchise, that does make a little less sense. Yeah, I understand.
Oh, it doesn't make sense at all. You and I are in total agreement of that. But here's the thing. Let's say the Chargers draft Justin Herbert. They draft Justin Herbert in the draft, right? I like him. If they don't want to start him right away, could they bring in Brady as a stopgap? Maybe.
No, nothing is stopping them from doing that if they want.
That's what I mean. Brady would help them sell tickets. That's the only reason it's realistic. It doesn't make sense for Brady at all, but it makes a lot of sense for the Chargers. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Coming up next, Speedy Petey, producer of everything on this network, will get his thoughts. I want to get his thought because I keep hearing that Mike McCarthy is not a great scheme fit for the Dallas Cowboys, and there isn't anybody better to ask in the business than Speedy Petey. We'll talk about that next on the Haystack and the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're listening to the Haystack Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Good to have you back, Haystack, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Mike, Evan, Monica here on a Tuesday. Yeah, right, Tuesday?
Yeah, it's a Tuesday.
It feels like
Monday.
Yeah, I don't know. And we did a show yesterday. Still feels like Monday. All right. Let's bring on a guy that knows a lot more about football than I do, Speedy Petey, producer of every show on this network virtually. Speedy, I have a lot of questions for you because there's a lot of moving parts. There are a lot of things that are unexpected. But first of all, how was your Christmas? How was your New Year's, bud?
It was good, very relaxing. A lot of family over. My house, we host every year pretty much because we got the biggest house back in my house in Connecticut. So it was a lot of fun. Crazy, but relaxing indeed.
There we go. Perfect. All right. First thing I want to ask you, I led the show off with it today, is I think it would be a mistake because there's this big story now about whether Tom Brady's going to finish his career in New England or he's going to go somewhere else or he should retire or something along those lines. I think it would be a mistake for him to leave New England, and I think it would be a mistake for Belichick and Brady to separate themselves from each other because they've already reached the Mecca. They're already the greatest of all time. What do you think is the best path for Tom Brady to take at this point?
Yeah, I agree. I think the best path would be for him to stay. I don't know if that's what's going to happen. I don't know if the money will add up because, again, I think you said it yesterday, Brady was taking discounts a lot, and I don't think he wants to do that anymore. So will the Patriots pay him? I don't know. They're not notorious for keeping players at a lot more than what they want them to pay. So I don't know if they will end up keeping him, but I agree. I think the best path, I think, is really for him to stay in New England. I'm not sure if it happens or not, though. I could see him bolting.
So do you think it's possible for him to have success somewhere else? Where do you think would be a good fit for him if he were to leave?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. I'm not sure, really, because, again, the Patriots are a very uniquely built team. So I mean, maybe the only one I can really think of maybe is Indianapolis, just with another good coach in Frank Reich. Brissett played there, so there's a lot of similarities with those two offenses, more speed-type receivers. That's the only one I can think of off the top of my head, because every other team I think that needs a quarterback is either young or has a more sophisticated offense that I don't know if Brady can get into right away. Not that the Colts offense isn't sophisticated, because it definitely is, but I think it's more, if Brady were to transition somewhere else, that I think would be more his type. I know there's, again, rumors with Tennessee, there's rumors with the Chargers, there's rumors with other teams, but I just don't know if those teams necessarily fit his style of play as much. I think those are more for the connections of, for the Titans' sake, Mike Vrabel, and then for the Chargers' sake, the California connection more than anything else.
So I'm not sure that the Chargers would be a great fit for Tom Brady, because if they're the least clutch team in football, that would mean that Tom Brady would become the least clutch player in football. So we'd have to figure out a way to do that. All right, so let's shift to Mike McCarthy, because I think this is a really interesting hire. I don't think anybody really saw it coming, but Mike McCarthy went into Dallas, interviewed with Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones fell in love with him. He slept over at his house. I mean, it was just and hired him the next morning. How do you feel about the hire? Do you think it's a good scheme fit for the Cowboys?
It's interesting because I think it's a good hire in terms of the experience and leadership qualities of a head coach. In terms of scheme fit, I don't know, and that's because it's a lot of different player types than what he had in Green Bay. Zeke is the best running back he will now ever coach among, again, not very good running backs in Green Bay, but
right.
The question is, being he's a more passing type coordinator, will he actually use Zeke to their full potential? Dak Prescott, I think, can kind of fit some concepts of him, but also is different than what he liked to utilize with play calling of the quarterbacks. So I think it's definitely interesting. Randall Cobb obviously is already there, so he'll be fine. Receivers, I think, can fit too. It's just the bigger-bodied receivers with quickness at the line of scrimmage are more of what he prioritized with Green Bay as well. They didn't really like a lot of the smaller receivers.
Right.
So, again, it's not that Cooper's small or Gallup's small or anything like that. It's just interesting to see if he'll fit.
Do you
I'm not sure about, but it's just a different style of team in terms of player types, so I don't know how well it will fit in terms of operating his offense to a top-of-the-league offense kind of thing. But as a head coach, I think is a good hire. I'm not going to say great, but I'll say it's a good hire.
So let me ask you this then, because I think that this is an interesting conversation, because most coaches have an identity, right? That they instill a particular system. They have a certain identity with what they think. But Mike McCarthy's a West Coast guy, which means a lot of airing the ball out. And it depends on who you are, whether you trust Dak Prescott in doing that or not. Here's the thing that I want to ask you. Do you think it's possible for coaches to adapt in this league? Because Mike McCarthy taking a year off, watching a lot of film, he apparently loves Dak, and he understands that the Cowboy offense is committed to running the football. Do you think that Mike McCarthy could adapt to what the Cowboys' needs are as far as a system goes?
Yeah, I think he's going to have to, really, because otherwise you're limiting what Zeke can do. You're limiting what certain wide receivers can do. And it's interesting because the offensive line for Dallas is, again, very, very good. And, again, better than anything he's ever had in Green Bay, even at the start of his career in Green Bay, where they had a very good offensive line, when Favre was still there. I think this Dallas line, when healthy, is still better. So I think, as a whole, it'll be interesting to see how he adapts to those kinds of things, because a lot of the concepts he ran was also with those things in mind. Now, obviously, Aaron Rodgers, being a much better quarterback, will create more opportunity for that than Dak. So, again, he can't trust Dak Prescott to be Aaron Rodgers either, and that's another thing he'll have to evolve with. But I think just with the team being so different than what it was strength and weakness-wise in Green Bay, and also just the player types, he's going to have to adapt. And if he doesn't, and he just tries to stick to his ways, they're going to have to maybe shuffle pieces around, and that could make it hard for them to compete. Because the Cowboys are not a rebuilding team. They're a above-average roster with, again, playoff potential seemingly every year. They haven't been really bad in a while. I don't think they've been below 500 since the start of the decade. So they're not a rebuilding team. So McCarthy took this job to work with what's there and maybe patch up some things. Maybe he'll draft his own receiver. Maybe he'll draft one of his own offensive linemen or something like that to fit his system. But I think everything else he's really going to have to adapt.
So as far as if we're going to stick in the coaching hire sort of spectrum, two coaching hires were made this morning. So the Panthers are hiring Matt Rule, the former Baylor coach, and the Giants are now hiring Joe Judge, who is a former special teams coordinator and is the wide receiver coach of the Patriots. What do you listen? I barely know who Joe Judge is. I've heard a lot about Matt Rule. Tell me what your feeling is on these two hires this morning.
Well, again, the Giants, I'm not really sure what's going on with them. It doesn't really make sense with Joe Judge. Again, I don't know much about him either, so I'm not going to say that it's going to be definitively bad, but the track record, I don't know what to believe with it. I mean, special teams coaches have had some success, but again, it's tough really to judge. New England special teams has always been good, okay, but your Belichick coaching tree really hasn't been great. You got, again, better offensive and or defensive coordinators out there that would have helped those areas. So I don't think the Giants' special teams specifically is really that big of an issue. And again, I think you've said this many times on Homestretch, we used to do Homestretch last year. The Patriots' culture doesn't necessarily travel to other places. It's worked so far for the Titans, but that's really it. So I don't know if it'll necessarily be that kind of thing. And it's not like you're trying to beat Bill Belichick like Miami wanted to do, like the Titans just did, and again wanted to do since they lost in the playoffs 2 years ago to the Patriots. So I think the Giants really shouldn't be focused on that. They should be focused on somebody for their own strengths. And I think Eric Bieniemy would have been the guy for them. That's who I wanted the most. Again, or one of those other good defensive coordinators. I wouldn't have minded either. In terms of Judge, I aim maybe, but I just don't like it the way it looks. In terms of the Panthers, Matt Rule, again, we'll see how he turns out. I'm not crazy about Big 12 coaches going into the NFL just because they don't play against defenses that are any good. But I do like, from Rule's standpoint, I do like him more than Lincoln Riley in the sense where he really had to rebuild that program for Baylor. They were 2-10 or whatever in 2016, and he really grew that up into a contending team. And this year, obviously, almost made the college football playoff if they didn't lose to Oklahoma. So
right.
I think that end of it is a good thing when looking at Matt Rule. And again, they're a younger team now, the Panthers. They're going to have to. They had to go with a modern type offensive kind of guy. I think again, Bieniemy would have been the perfect fit for them too, especially with a lot of speed type receivers. But I think Rule will fit with them. The concepts that he implements, how good of an actual head coach game planning wise he'll be, we'll see. But the Panthers had to go with a younger guy, a more modern type guy, being they're a younger team. So I think I'll say it's a good hire. I think rather have Bieniemy though if I were the Panthers.
It's interesting that we see that because it seems like the Giants are missing out on everybody. They missed out on Ron Rivera. They missed out on Mike McCarthy. They missed out on Matt Rule. Now they hired Joe Judge. They didn't even open the opportunity to interview Josh McDaniels. I mean, they kind of just rolled the dice on this one. So we'll see how that turns out. All right, finally, Speedy. We got playoff games this weekend in the NFL. What do you think is the game that we should be looking at? What should we be looking for?
I think the 49ers-Vikings, I think, is going to be the best game. I really do. And I actually think Minnesota can upset the Niners.
Wow, I'm surprised to hear that coming from you.
Why?
Haven't you always been a Kirk Cousins big game type guy?
I'm not Tyler.
No, that's true. I do associate you and Tyler, so my apologies.
I was never as high on Kirk Cousins as Errol was or you were, but I still was willing to give him a chance. I didn't say it was all his fault for a big game.
Mm-hmm.
The Vikings I hated more on last year, but this year, again, they're a great roster. I think they're the best roster construction left in the NFC in terms of talent. And I really do think Mike Zimmer did a nice job game planning the way he did against Sean Payton and outcoached what I think is the second-best coach in the NFL in Sean Payton. And I think that has to say something with the way he coached that defense. The offensive line for the Vikings, if they can just get any level of protection, even if it's just average, I think has a really good shot at winning this game. Their run defense is very good. The middle of the field linebackers and safeties can help, obviously not stop George Kittle, but contain him enough where he's not going for 120, 130 yards. Eric Kendricks has been great in coverage all year. Harrison Smith, he's still got. Anthony Barr has kept improving in coverage every year. So I like that matchup. And the biggest weakness with Minnesota is sometimes their corners can be penalty prone and allow big plays, but the Niners really don't have deep threat wide receivers. They have more scat back, little slot type wide receivers. And they're all the same. So I think bigger corners for Minnesota, like Xavier Rhodes, like Trey Waynes, they have size. They can press into the line of scrimmage and make it very hard for them to run the quick offenses of the Niners like to do. So I think that's going to cause some trouble. So, again, I really think they can pull off the upset. The Niners' defense is going to play very well, too. I don't see the Vikings' offense completely duplicating what they did either. But I think Minnesota defensively could definitely win this game. And I think it's going to be very interesting and close throughout. And just good quality football with two very talented teams.
All right, so before I let you go, Speedy, really quick, one-word answers. I'm going to ask you to make picks. So Vikings, Niners, who do you like?
Yeah, Vikings-Niners I think will be the best game. I think all of them will be close, but I think in terms of the quality of football, I just think the matchup, strength on strength, I think it will be the best.
So who do you like in the game?
I'll take Minnesota. Usually there's one upset in the divisional round. Last year was a weird exception. I think that's the one. I really do.
Do you see, what about Seattle Green Bay? Because I'm kind of looking at that game as for Seattle to pull it off in Green Bay. I like what Seattle brings on the table to the road. What do you see in that game, Seattle Green Bay?
It's interesting. I'm going to favor Green Bay slightly just because of the running back injuries for Seattle, because I think that's the matchups they would have really had to exploit. The Packers' biggest weakness is inside run defense and stopping the tight ends over the middle of the field, because their safeties are okay, but they're not great, and same with the middle linebackers. The Seattle lost their tight ends early. It's now really a receiver-oriented team, and Green Bay's got good young corners. So if Marshawn Lynch can be any level of dominance, maybe they can steal it. But, again, it's a different type defense than we've seen in the past of what has rattled Aaron Rodgers. And the Packers' offensive line is better than it was, I think, 3 years ago when they met last. So I think it'll still be close. But I'm going to still favor Green Bay right now for the time being. Plus, again, second game of a road trip for Seattle. They win one road game, which is good. I don't know if they can win two in a row, though. That's going to be very tough.
So he's got Minnesota and Green Bay playing in the NFC Championship game. All right, AFC Championship game, who do you have? Titans, Ravens, Texans, Chiefs, who do you have?
I have the Ravens, but I actually think that'll be close, too. I actually think Tennessee's defensive identity is a good thing in terms of being the best built identity to but contain Lamar Jackson in terms of what he likes to do. Fast linebackers that can definitely be QB spies. Outside rushing defenses tend to do well against running quarterbacks for contain. The one thing that concerns me with the Titans' defense is they have struggled against tight ends, especially bigger tight ends. So I think Mark Andrews is the matchup advantage for the Ravens that they need, and even if they use guys like Boyle and Hayden Hurst too, because they also just utilize tons of two tight end formations. I think that'll be the difference. And the Ravens' defense, obviously, is going to make a big difference in terms of stopping the run. They're not going to be able to run like they did last week against the Patriots. Derrick Henry will still be very good, but I don't think he'll be 182 yards. I think he'll be maybe probably 100, something like that. But that's not going to make a difference in the game. I think the Ravens' secondary and pass rush is too good after that. So I'll take the Ravens, but I do think it'll be close. And then, same thing. I'll take the Chiefs, but I think it'll be close, too. Deshaun Watson is a good big game quarterback. We've seen that a lot. So I do think that will be close, too. I just think the Chiefs' defense is a lot better than where it was when they met in Week 6 earlier this year. Their pass defense has really grown, and I think Steve Spagnuolo, with his blitz packages against that offensive line, is still going to make it tough for Deshaun Watson. I think it'll be kind of more low-scoring than we saw in the first meeting, because the Texans' defense has grown some, too, with the corners they brought in, and their linebackers now playing better.
Right.
J.J. Watt was great in the second half. So I do think it'll be more low-scoring, but I do think it'll be a close game. I'm still going to favor the Chiefs. So I got Ravens, Chiefs, and I got Vikings-Packers.
There you go. See? It's going to be all NFC North in the NFC Championship game. See,
Yeah.
So does that mean do you have the Vikings going all the way to the Super Bowl?
Maybe.
Wow, look at this.
Save it. Save the spoiler.
Holy crow. Yeah, we're going to have to get
I'm not going to make any decisions yet.
We didn't do a football.
The notion is it's hard to beat a team 3 times, so that's on the Vikings side. But the Vikings have also had really done NFC Championship games, so we'll see. I got to see how they end up winning if they do win, and Green Bay how they end up winning. It's really based on tendencies and game planning.
Is Minnesota, I guess, the team we're all looking at now that they especially upset the Saints, and we're looking at and say, yeah, they're definitely the team that can get hot at the right time and make a run. I think they're now the team that we're looking at as a possible outcome.
Yeah, maybe. It's definitely possible. Again, the Niners have a talented offense, but again, their offensive line in the middle is not great, and I think that's the greatest thing Mike Zimmer did was he moved Hunter and Griffin in the middle and really rattled the Saints that way. So, again, they can do that, and if he keeps game planning the way he's been doing and actually just doesn't rely on his talent alone, again, they definitely can win these games. And, again, it is tough to be a team 3 times, so maybe they'll gain something game planning-wise against the Packers, too, if they were to meet up. I think if they were to play Seattle, I think they would lose just because I think Seattle's had their number for years. But,
all right,
if they
good.
play Green Bay, I think they definitely got a shot.
All right, Speedy Petey, our producer for pretty much every show on this network, our football guru. Speedy, thanks, bud. Appreciate it.
Yep, have a good rest of your show.
All right. Let's throw it over to Monica Ray with the news on a Tuesday.
Well, the big news today is it's Evan's birthday.
Ew.
Happy birthday,
Boo.
Evan.
Where's that boo sound effect?
So, Evan shares his birthday with Lamar Jackson
I know, right?
Do you actually?
and Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
Who knew?
That's great. I actually didn't notice that, so didn't know that
So
till
you're
last
going
year.
down to the center of the earth with Lamar Jackson. Not bad for a running back.
Yeah,
Not bad. I found it out last year because I obviously followed the Ravens on Twitter, and I see last year, January 7th, happy birthday, Lamar Jackson. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. I was like, oh.
It was meant to be.
That's the first thing I said. I'm like, wow, it was meant to be, maybe. And yeah, like a couple of years ago, obviously you scroll down, like, oh, who do you share birthdays with? I saw Nicolas Cage. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm a Ghost Rider.
So we were talking a little bit with Speedy Petey about Dallas and their new head coach. So what do you think is going to happen to Jason Garrett? Where do you think he's going to wind up? There was little talk this morning about him going
to the Giants as their offensive coordinator. Listen, there was mutual interest between the two sides weeks ago.
Yeah.
So
Think that's a good fit?
Listen, I hate to say it, but I think it happens. I really do. I think Jason Garrett goes to the Giants as their offensive coordinator.
There is two things I want to pose about that. Jason Garrett, we as much as we do, obviously we don't not a lot of us think he's a good coach. He was a pretty good offensive coordinator. There's a reason why he became a great.
He was a decent offensive coordinator under Wade Phillips. So
and that's the biggest reason. That's
so
the
maybe
biggest
he
reason.
goes back to basics.
Yeah. But that is the biggest reason. While I know we're all sitting around here saying, "Oh my God, the Giants are hiring Jason Garrett. Look at Jason Garrett. Oh my God, that's terrible." He was a pretty good offensive coordinator. That's how he became such a big coaching need. Teams are looking for him in 07, 08. Cowboys, Ravens. They were all looking at him to be their head coach. I think the second thing that surprises me about this is I'm a little shocked Jerry isn't keeping Jason Garrett around. Maybe he is trying to behind the scenes trying to keep him around, like as an ambassador, as someone in the front office. I would have thought Jerry
an
would really
ambassador. I love that.
Yeah, that's a cushy
An
job.
ambassador.
Oh, just or even somewhere in the front office.
I want to be an ambassador.
Working around the team. I would have thought Jerry would be working to keep Jason Garrett at least on board in the front office. But I understand, I guess, why Jerry's letting Jason explore the coaching options.
Yeah, I mean, crazy. But listen, Jason Garrett to the Giants. God, it feels like it's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I thought football was amazing this weekend. Some of the best football I've seen all year. And did you catch DK Metcalf with the Seahawks? He broke a rookie record. He had 160 yards, 7 passes caught, rookie record for a playoff game. So he's going to be a big contender with them when they play for the Card on Saturday. They play against the Panthers?
Yeah.
That last play that Russell made, the last play that sealed the deal in that
There
game.
were 2 plays that DK Metcalf made that were just incredible.
Yeah.
And the last one was pretty much just Russell just saying, "Go get it. Just here. I'm giving you the game right here. And again, this is a rookie. He's telling him, go get it."
Right.
Throws up to him. DK Metcalf is open down the middle of the field, leaps up and makes a tremendous catch, which sealed the deal. I think it speaks a lot about Russell's trust in him, the growth and the chemistry that's growing between these two. And not only is it effective this year, it's going to be effective for a while. That's a heck of a combo those two are going to make together.
I think it's a heck of a combination too, because I think 2 things can be true. First of all, I think Russell Wilson is making DK Metcalf work a lot earlier than I expected, right? Because DK Metcalf is not a great route runner. You know, he's a pure physical tools guy.
Go up and get it.
Right. Fast, athletic, crazy. But DK Metcalf, I always thought, was going to be a really blessed receiver. Like, he just had something that was he was so gifted. I mean, I thought he was an early first-round pick. He was the 9th wide receiver taken. I mean, that's beyond me.
Right.
Beyond me. But, I mean, listen, DK and Russell Wilson, that is a perfect fit for each other, seriously. And DK showed you what he can do. He can make those massively big plays. I don't know. DK and Russell Wilson work, and they work perfectly.
Right.
What's next?
And I don't know where you watched the games, but I was out Saturday. I watched the Buffalo game and the Patriots game.
I watched them at home.
And Evan and I were talking about it on break before, just the Buffalo game. How many Buffalo Bills fans traveled to Houston to be there?
Oh, they travel.
Yeah,
Buffalo fans travel. I will say this. Buffalo is not a big market, but Buffalo Bills fans
turn out.
Are crazy.
Yeah.
They are loyal. They travel.
Yeah.
The Buffalo Bills have some of the best fans ever.
I was watching the game, and every time they panned a shot of the crowd or you saw a shot of the crowd, it really felt like there was just as much, if not maybe more, Bills fans and Texas fans. They really showed up. And and we're going nuts in the game. They showed up in Houston.
Well, think about this too, Evan. I mean, Buffalo. Like, my mother's a Bills fan,
right?
So I understand. Like, my entire the entire side of my mom's family, they are all Bills fans because they grew up in Buffalo, right? My grandfather's a Dolphins fan, which I don't understand, but the rest of them are Bills fans. The thing I find amazing is that for a couple of games this year, my cousin and his wife and his family are diehard Bills fans. They live in Oklahoma and flew or drove up to Buffalo to see a couple of Bills games. Like, they travel.
Yeah.
They really travel.
Right.
So...
Yeah, so
we'll see.
They were turning out. And then the other thing that was interesting was how excited.
And they like Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Bills fans like Josh Allen. It is not like it's like, oh, we need a new quarterback. No, they embrace Josh Allen. They think he's good.
And this is the first time in really since those 90s teams where the Bills fan bases look at this Bills team. It's like, not only are we good right now, we're going to be good for a while. This is the Bills team that's going to be back it would have been nice if they would have kept that 16-0 lead and hold it. If you're a Bills fan,
they're young though, right?
They're very young. They're well coached, well structured, have a great defense, have a nice balance on offense.
They need one or two wide receivers that are bigger.
I agree.
They need big catch radius wide receivers. That's their biggest need. Maybe a little bit more on the offensive line, and then you're pretty good to go. Other than that, maybe you could stack up your defensive line a little bit more. But I mean, this is a good roster. I would heavily address wide receiver and just go ham with weapons.
Yeah.
What's next?
And then everybody was just so excited that the Patriots lost. I've never seen a crowd more excited for a team to lose.
Might as well have thrown a parade. The world can rejoice today because the Patriots dynasty is over.
Yep.
I know Evan doesn't like to say that. I don't like to rule out Tom Brady.
Well, hold on. All right, well, if Tom Brady is back next year, I won't put the dynasty over. I'm not.
Oh, I am.
If Brady is
done.
back,
I'm out.
I'm out
on him. I'm done.
I think it was, and I was talking to Monica before the show. If you would have told me 15 years ago the end of the Patriots dynasty, I would have been thrilled. I would have been so happy. Finally they're out of the way. We don't have to worry about it. Now it's like watching that game. I was sitting there. We're all watching. It's me, my brother, and my dad. We're all watching the game, and we're all just sitting there like we're not like celebrating. We're like, this is like bittersweet. Like it was almost just kind of sad. I don't know. I didn't know how to feel. I really didn't know how to feel watching this game.
I knew how to
feel. I
feel.
know how you felt. I know how you felt. You were dancing, celebrating, throwing a party. But I was like,
the champagne.
I was like, I don't know how I feel. If this was the end, and again, if Brady's back, I won't say it is.
Yeah. I get it.
But I was like,
tree hugger.
I don't know. How do I feel? It was just so weird and kind of sad to watch.
Yeah, a little bit.
You Brady hugger. You. All right, that's the news. Big J journalist Monica Ray here to Tuesday. All right, coming up next, I will rank the remaining playoff teams. I think you'll be surprised where I've got some of these teams. That's coming up next. Hour 2, Haystack, Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Worldwide Sports Radio presents the Haystack Show. With Mike Guido.
Hour number 2, here we go. On a Tuesday, it's the Haystack and the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, WorldwideSportsRadio.com. Mike Guido, Evan Mazza, Monica Ray, good to have you in. So hour 2 loaded today. We got one of the chances right around the corner, but first, let's get into this. I'm going to rank the remaining 8 NFL playoff teams. Evan, here we go. All right, number 8, the Tennessee Titans. This is actually getting kind of hard for me because Tennessee they beat the Patriots in Foxborough. The only issue I'm having with them is they go into a game against Baltimore, which I don't think is possible for them to win. They're going to have to outrun the Ravens, and I'm not sure they're going to be able to do that. Ryan Tannehill's at quarterback. He did not play well against New England. I don't expect much better from Baltimore, probably a little bit better, but I'm going to take Tennessee at number 8.
Number 7.
Green Bay. Now, Speedy thinks they're going to win. I'm not sure I buy that. I don't know. This is one of those situations where the Packers have a lot of problems. Their running game is good, but it gets spotty. Aaron Rodgers late in the year has not really played up to par. Their defense has wavered, and they have a first-year head coach coaching in his first playoff game. I don't know if I buy Green Bay at this point. Really talented. I think they're getting there, but they're not all the way there yet. They have a lack of perimeter players, just like Seattle does. I think if Seattle can control the clock, Green Bay's going to run into a bunch of trouble. So right now, I'm going to put the Green Bay Packers at number 7.
Number 6.
Houston. I think the Texans are good, but that's all I think about them, is that they're good. They have a gamer. They have a guy that's going to win games in the fourth quarter in Deshaun Watson. That's not an issue. It's what's surrounding Deshaun Watson. Okay, they're not going to win every game if their quarterback gets sacked that many times. Okay, if Kansas City brings the pressure, Houston's going to have a real problem. If they can't run the football well, they're going to have a real problem. Their defense is really banged up. J.J. Watt's back, but even with him back, their defense is banged up. They have a young secondary that isn't all the way there yet. Houston, I think, is good, not great right now. I don't love them against Kansas City. Give me Houston at 6.
Number 5.
Seattle. Now, the Seahawks, I think, they're at a point now where they have to really rely on Russell Wilson. Okay, this was a team that already did and was able to run the ball. This was an offense that was focused on running the football. They can't really do that anymore because Travis Homer and Marshawn Lynch just are not very good. This is a lot of Russell Wilson. I think that they get a decent matchup this week against the Packers. I probably like them to win on the road, but this is an interesting game. I don't think that you could feel comfortable with this game at all. Seattle, I'll take it number 5, but Seattle does have issues.
Number 4.
Minnesota. Listen, I'm not sure I'm in crazy disagreement with Speedy. I really think that Minnesota could go into San Francisco and win a football game. I really do believe that. The talent on this roster showed against New Orleans. That was a huge win. Kirk Cousins played great in that game. They were able to run the football well. This is an insanely talented defense that can get after the quarterback. The interior offensive line of San Francisco has struggled. If Minnesota can game plan against that, Minnesota can win a football game. The Vikings are real good. They've got great perimeter players that should give the 49ers secondary a little bit of trouble. Give me the Vikings at number 4.
Number 3.
Kansas City. Now, the Chiefs are, the one thing that's holding me back on them is that they don't run the football incredibly well, and they're very reliant on Patrick Mahomes to make plays. I think the matchup they have, though, with Houston, I think allows them to do that. So, as far as faith in them advancing, I do think that they'll advance. But here's the thing about them, and this is going to be an interesting thing. Kansas City's defense, can they, if the game is close, can they stop Deshaun Watson in the fourth quarter? I'm not sure they can, but we'll see. They're going to be able to score points. Houston's going to be forced to score a lot of points. All these teams are going to be forced to score a lot of points against Kansas City because you know they will. Give me the Chiefs at number 3.
Number 2.
San Francisco. Front 7, I think they're fantastic. And conceptually, on the offensive side of the football, they are absolutely phenomenal. Jimmy Garoppolo, I think, is perfect for what Kyle Shanahan wants to do. They have a really good head coach. They run the football incredibly well. I mean, they have all the aspects. The only thing that troubles me is that Minnesota is kind of riding a high right now. They could be running into a bad matchup. Right now, I'll take San Francisco at number 2.
All right, and Mike Vito's number 1 NFL team.
The Baltimore Ravens. And there's the sound effect. I mean, this has been a constant for weeks, months at this point. The Baltimore Ravens, the way they run the football, the way they play defense, the way that they can defend the pass, and they can block on up front in the offensive line. I mean, they're extremely well coached. Chances are with these coaching hires, Evan just brought it up, they probably keep both of their coordinators with Greg Rome and Don Wink Martindale. I mean, there is not a better situation to be in right now other than being a Ravens fan at this point. They have the MVP of the league in Lamar Jackson. The Ravens right now are number 1. So here we go. I'll re-rack it for you. Tennessee at 8, Green Bay at 7, Houston at 6, Seattle at 5, Minnesota at 4, Kansas City at 3, San Francisco at 2, and then Baltimore at 1. And that's pretty much been a constant. It's nothing crazy changing. All right, so there we go. That's how I'm ranking the remaining NFL teams today. We'll see what happens this week. I think we're going to have an incredible week in the playoffs this week in football. I really do. Yeah. We're going to narrow it down to 4 teams, and it is going to be incredibly fun. Incredibly fun.
Divisional playoffs and Wild Card Weekend are my two favorite weekends in the NFL. I love Wild Card Weekend. I love the divisional playoff because they're always the most compelling. They're always the most, to me, they're always the most unpredictable. You know, championship.
There's a bittersweetness though. There's a little bit of bittersweet to it though, because we now know like football season is getting close to the end, and that's awful. I hate it.
Close to the end, right?
I hate when football season ends, but I will say this: it gets us excited for draft season, though, which is great.
That's
when I kick in. That's when I kick in. That's when mock drafts become the true reason for my existence. I'm telling you, and I'll do live mocks. Everything. Dude, draft season for me.
You and Tyler dueling mock drafts.
Oh my God!
You, Speedy, and Tyler dueling mock drafts.
Yeah, well, we'll do live mocks on home stretch and everything like that, and it's going to be great. I cannot wait. It's going to be great. All right, so there we go. Coming up next, we got news, and we play What Are the Chances every single Tuesday. That is coming up on the Haystack and the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're listening to the Haystack Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Good to have you back. Haystack, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Mike, Evan, Monica here on a Tuesday. Absolutely loaded today. Speedy thinks that the Vikings have a shot at upsetting the Niners this weekend. And I'm not sure I totally disagree. Like, I really think that I'm going to get into it more tomorrow, but I really do think that there is something about Minnesota that people are not recognizing. I'm telling you right now, this is going to be a really interesting turn of events this weekend.
If they are kind of the team now that they went into New Orleans and defeated the Saints in overtime, are they kind of the team with all the talent that they have that we're looking at and saying, they can go on a run, get hot at the right time, and make a run at a Super Bowl? They certainly are a team to watch out for now that they pulled this one up against New Orleans. And San Francisco is interesting because that's a young football team that really has relatively, other than guys like Richard Sherman and Joe Staley, and Emmanuel Sanders, have not much playoff experience at all. They're very young for a head coach who's in his first playoff appearance as a head coach. Obviously, he was with the Falcons as offensive coordinator, but still a different animal when you're a head coach. How do they handle the first round bye? How do they handle having home field advantage? First home playoff game, do they come out slow? If they come out slow and the Minnesota takes an early lead, then we're looking at a possible Vikings victory. But if they come out hot and the game is tight or San Fran takes an early lead, San Francisco, you realize, okay, we're in for a game here, and San Francisco will be okay.
Right.
I'm really interested to see how San Francisco starts off this football game, because if they start off slow, Minnesota's going to take advantage.
We'll see. Let's go to the news. Big J journalist Monica Ray on a Tuesday.
So we have the NBA draft deadline coming up, February 6th, right?
Yeah.
So who do you think the Knicks' best trading chip is? Because they're going to have to do something. So we were talking about Julius Randle. You think he's a good...
No, I don't.
Side.
I think they're going to keep him around. I think Marcus Morris is the name you're going to want to keep an eye on.
What about Kevin Knox?
No, they're going to keep him around. They're going to keep most of the young guys. Like, they're going to keep Frank. They're going to keep R.J. Barrett. They're going to keep Kevin Knox, Mitchell Robinson. Like, they're going to keep their young guys. The veteran guys are going to try and trade off. Wayne Ellington, Taj Gibson, Marcus Morris. I don't see Julius Randle going anywhere, but I could be wrong. We'll see. I mean, Knicks aren't any good, so they are going to be trying to trade pieces.
Do something.
But I think Marcus Morris is the piece that you should be looking at that possibly gets traded.
All right. So I thought this was kind of a funny story, and Evan and I were talking about it earlier, too. Jonas, am I saying
Ioannis.
that? Ioannis. I can't say it right.
Cespedes for the rest of us.
He was injured thanks to a wild boar on his ranch. So he owns some property, and apparently he has a wild boar problem. So he set up traps for this wild boar, and he went to release it, and the boar charged him, and then he ended up falling into the hole that the boar was in and twisted or fractured his ankle. Can you imagine the boar's face? He's probably like, ha ha.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, the boar escaped from one of his traps, charged at him, causing him to step back into a hole and suffer multiple fractures right ankle.
I mean, that's...
Yeah,
and what's crazy
is like a freak accident.
Is Ioannis Cespedes, instead of laying traps, why doesn't he just buy a rifle?
I don't.
And what's crazy
buy a rifle and shoot him.
What's crazy is he's actually getting. It seems like he's might be ready to go opening day or at least early in the season, which is crazy to think about. That's actually a crazy thing
If the
to
Mets
think.
get him back, that's huge. People got to realize, the Mets are so much better with Yoenis Cespedes than without him. Their record is so much better. Comparatively, it is so much better.
I said it yesterday on the not home stretch, Morning Boys, when Tyler came on the show and we were talking about it with Mark Kelly. I said, as long as if Cespedes can give me 20 homers and 80 RBIs, that's, you take it if you're a Mets fan. I think with the fact that he's missed so much of the last 2 years, and the fact that there's actual possibility he's there early in the season or even opening day, give me 20 homers, 80 RBIs, and call it a day.
He's played 30 games the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean...
But what a wild start. When this came out...
Who even knows if Cespedes is the same player? Cespedes hasn't seen a pitch in...
Well, since the day against the Yankees, when he hit the home run after that he had to go get ankle surgery.
Yeah. And
that was what, June? That was what, June of 2018?
Is it the same ankle? That I didn't find out.
Well, I think it was both ankle. I remember I believe he had to get both ankle and heel surgery. That's what, again, it's a whole thing. There's a whole communication with the Mets and the Cespedes.
Ankles are tough.
And then this happened. No one knew what the heck happened. Somebody was saying he fell into a hole, or he tripped over, if he fell on his horse.
He was attacked by a wild boar.
And then we find out that this is the real story.
He was charged by a wild boar.
It's so bizarre. It's such a Mets thing that their best player gets injured again because of a wild boar. What's next?
Crazy.
So we'll round it off with, since we're both hungry. I know I'm hungry.
I'm starving.
Cafe isn't really cooking today, so...
I know. I'm starving.
And we talked about burgers.
Great. Now we see the Grubhub guy.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Thanks a lot, buddy.
Come back.
Yeah, walk by us with that delicious whatever you've got.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's going to make somebody's day. So I looked up the world's largest burger.
Don't do this to me.
The world's largest burger?
Pick something else. Don't do this to me.
The world's largest burger.
Don't do it. Don't do it. I'm so in the mood for a burger right now. It's not even funny.
In this new year, are you going to guess more, in line? Or are you just going 10,000 across? How many pounds is the largest burger that holds the Guinness Book World Records? Uh-oh.
10,000 pounds.
Here we are, new year. Evan, what do you think?
World's largest burger.
Yeah.
5,000 pounds.
Surprisingly, 150 pounds.
Oh.
What?
And it's on the menu in a restaurant in Michigan, and it's $400. And the bun is $50. So you could actually order it. I don't know if you can order it ahead of time or you sit there and you wait for them to put this whole thing together.
So how do you even eat it? How big is it?
Looked like it was about that big.
Wow.
So
150-pound burger.
Yeah.
I'd eat the whole thing. If you ate that entire burger, you'd explode. It'd be eating a person.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It'd be eating a wild boar.
So that's like a Royale Deluxe with cheese.
Yeah, you supersize it.
So
do you get fries with it or something?
I don't think they put bacon on it.
Really?
Oh,
no!
I bet you with bacon. Yeah. They didn't say how many pounds
of bacon. So do they get really big bacon, or do they just throw a crap ton of little bacon on it? A crap ton of normal sized bacon.
Yeah, I think probably normal sized bacon, just all over. It'll look like bacon bits on there.
Well, yeah, bigger. The burger's probably as big as his desk.
Yeah.
Listen. If I had that burger, I'd leave it on here. I'd grab a fork and a knife, a really big fork and a really big knife, and I would just throughout the course of a week or so, maybe 2 weeks. I'd eat the whole thing. I would just sit here and chow down on this burger.
You gotta eat it faster than 2 weeks. It'll go bad.
I'll freeze it.
All right. In your giant
Is that a
freezer.
thing? You have to tell me that. Is that a thing? If you freeze food, does it stop it from going bad? Or does it just, like, if you freeze it, it doesn't do anything, it'll just go bad frozen?
Well, I mean, depends on how you freeze it, but if you freeze it, it's going to keep it for a little while, but you can't keep it forever in a freezer.
Is that really? So,
I mean,
it slows down the process.
You could eat it again, but you wouldn't want to eat it after, like, a little while, you know?
All right.
I don't know. Plus, it's meat. You get, like, maggots.
Yeah, but meat's delicious.
I know.
Well, hey, listen. The most disgusting thing that ever happened to me is I'm not gonna tell you the place because I don't want to hurt their business. But I got a cookie, and I probably waited like 4 days, something like that, to eat this cookie. Way too long. It was 4 days or something to eat this cookie. This happened probably at least a year and a half ago, and I pulled the cookie out and I was eating it, and I didn't eat the whole cookie. I probably took about 3 bites of it. And my fiance looked at me and she's just like, "Why are you eating that?" I said, "Because it's a cookie. I love cookies. What are you talking about?" She's like, "Look inside the bag. Tons of little white ants are crawling on the cookie." And I mean tons, hundreds are crawling inside the bag on the cookie. I am literally like, I'm literally scraping my tongue. I'm like, no.
Drinking all as much water as you can.
I'm like going nuts. I'm like, oh my God. And I like doused it in water to kill all the ants, and I threw it in the garbage.
Wow. That's crazy.
It was really gross.
Yeah.
It was really bad.
So
It like traumatized me.
You would have maggots with meat.
By the way, I'm never going to this place again.
Yeah.
Never going to this place again.
That's crazy.
Because, and like I said, I'm not going to tell you who it is. I'm not going to tell you where it is. But I'm never going to this place again. It was awful. All right, that's the news. Big J journalist Monica Ray here on a Tuesday. All right, without further ado, we do this every single Tuesday. We play a game called What Are the Chances, where Evan gives me a situation. I give you the percentage chance that thing happens. Evan, here we go.
Well, Mike, you put it out your bold prediction yesterday, and after a couple of hours, you were right. The Cleveland Browns will be the last team to hire their new head football coach.
God, I am just brilliant.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So, what are the chances the Cleveland Browns hiring of their head coach becomes the best out of all the head coaching hires? They may be the last one, but they end up getting the best one. What are the chances?
I'm going to give that one a fat bagel. 0%. Literally no chance the Browns make the best hire. I think
this is looking towards like 4, 5, 6 years into the future.
Here's the thing. Somebody like Matt Rule, who would have been a good hire for them, turned down their interview. They're not going to get anybody. I think the best chance that they have at getting anybody is getting Josh McDaniels. I mean, nobody. This is what happened after they fired Freddie Kitchens. Nobody wants the Cleveland job. Okay, they're not going to get Urban Meyer. They're not going to get Lincoln Riley. They're not going to get anybody. I mean, there's nobody left. You know, I thought Mike McCarthy was a good hire. I thought Ron Rivera was a fantastic hire. I thought Matt Rule was a really good hire. I mean, I don't really see much room here. 0%. I don't think the Browns are going to find anybody any good.
Let's go to the Giants. Last 2 head coaches, McAdoo and Pat Shurmur, have lasted 2 seasons. Here comes Joe Judge. What are the chances Joe Judge lasts more than 3 seasons with the Giants?
I'm going to say like 65%. And the problem is that people are going to say, well, you don't know that. You don't know who he is as a head coach. You're right. I don't. But the Giants are going to have this innate mentality of, we can't let a head coach go again, or else we're one of those franchises. Okay, we had Tom Coughlin forever. Then we bring in Ben McAdoo and then Pat Shurmur. They're both short-lived. We don't want to turn into one of those franchises. They're going to keep Joe Judge around for a while, I think. They're going to keep Joe Judge around because they have to. They need some sort of stability. Plus, they have a young quarterback who's trying to develop. They got to figure it out. They got to figure that out.
So the Dallas Cowboys haven't made the playoffs in consecutive years since 2006, 2007. Now that Mike McCarthy's on board, what are the chances the Cowboys make the playoffs in consecutive seasons in the next 3 years?
I actually think it's pretty high. I'm going to say like 80%. Like Mike McCarthy, like I said, it was not my first choice, but how many times can we say that a Super Bowl winning coach with the resume that he has is not the sexy pick for the head coaching job. Mike McCarthy's a really good head coach, and I think you're going to see a different Mike McCarthy. He's going to make the adjustments to the new NFL. Listen, in the interview with Jerry Jones, he offered, he posed the idea of implementing a pretty large analytics department. So we know that Mike McCarthy is going to try and make adjustments, and I think it's going to work. I think the Cowboys, again, on top of this, the NFC East they don't have a lot of consecutive division winners. I think the Cowboys are much better next year because of this. I'm going to say 80%. Mike McCarthy definitely makes them better.
Actually, you just gave me another one. What are the chances the Dallas Cowboys now have Doug Pearson's in this division? What are the chances the Dallas Cowboys now have the best coach in the division between Doug Pearson, Mike McCarthy, and Ron Rivera? Obviously, we need to see with Joe Judge. But that's three pretty good, solid coaches right there between those three.
I'm going to split it. I'm going to say 33.3%. I'm going to put it right at a third because Joe Judge is definitely not going to be the best head coach, but Ron Rivera, Doug Peterson, and Mike McCarthy are all really good head coaches. They're probably all top 12 head coaches in the entire league. They're in the same breath. I think those are guys that are all kind of in the same category. I was never a huge Doug Peterson guy, but again, Super Bowl winner. He's a proven guy. They're all kind of in the same boat to me. I like Rivera and McCarthy a little bit more than Peterson, but I'm going to split it right down in thirds. 33%, 33%, 33%.
And what Doug Pearson did this year was spectacular. What are the chances Derrick Henry rushes for over 100 yards against the Ravens again?
I'm going to say 75%. This is the brunt of the Titans' offense. Derrick Henry is going to run for 1 million yards just because this is what the Titans do. They run an offense that is based on the run. Ryan Tannehill is not going to torch the Ravens. They're going to try and control the clock. They're going to try and play keep away, and Derrick Henry's going to be a big part of that. I think he's going to get more than 30 carries. Derrick Henry's going to get a lot of run in this game, a lot of it.
What are the chances, we've been talking about all day during the show, what are the chances the Vikings are the team that gets hot and makes a run to the Super Bowl?
I'm going to put it at 50-50. I'm not ruling out Minnesota. I really am not. The Vikings are legitimate. They are. They have so much talent, and if they can beat the Saints on the road, there's no reason for me to believe that they can't beat the Niners on the road. Okay, I had the Saints over the Niners in the NFC Championship game. To me, there is no reason why the Vikings can't win virtually all of these games. There isn't. I'm going to put it at 50-50.
We talked about Yoenis Cespedes before. What are the chances Cespedes plays exactly 100 games for the Mets in 2020 this season?
So Yoenis Cespedes plays how many games?
Exactly 100.
No. Exactly 100? No. Could he play up to 100? Yeah. Could he play a little bit more than 100? Yeah. No. I mean, I'm going to put that at 5%. Exactly 100? No.
Next season, what are the Dolphins? I know we have a long off season to go, but I think a lot of us left this season saying, hey, the Dolphins did pretty well this year. They competed. They won 5 games. What are the chances the Dolphins get up to 7 wins next season?
35%. I don't see much improvement with them this year. Chances are they're going to be rolling with a new quarterback. It'll probably be Tua. I don't know. They're still really young. They're not talented. They have to hit on draft picks. I don't think they're going to be a 500 team next year or close to it. They 4-12, 5-11, 6-10. That's what they're. If they draft well, that's what they'll be.
Last time the Texans met the Chiefs, that was Pat Mahomes' first game back off the injury. He went 19-35 for 273, 3 touchdowns and a pick. What are the chances he throws for 320 and 3 touchdowns against Houston on Sunday?
I hate to say it, but I think 75%. I really do believe that. I think he's going to get the protection. I think that secondary for Houston, it's improved, but still not great. There's a lot of speed at wide receiver when it comes to the Chiefs. And Patrick Mahomes is a gifted player with a gifted arm. Yeah, I'm going to say 75%. All right, last one.
What are the chances Jason Garrett becomes another hot commodity again to become a head coach after an offensive coordinator tenure, whether it's with the Giants or anyone else? Looks like it might be the Giants. What are the chances he becomes another hot commodity for a head coaching job after an offensive coordinator tenure?
People are going to think I'm crazy for saying this, and they're going to be surprised I'm going to say this. But I'm going to say 50-50. I really am. Like, do I think Jason Garrett is a good coach? No, I don't. But is it possible that he could make himself look good as an offensive coordinator? Absolutely he can. I'm going to say 50-50. If he gets hired, 50-50, absolutely. All right, there we go. That's what are the chances. We play it every single Tuesday. God, we were loaded today. Big day today. All right, Monica Ray, Big J journalist. Here we go. Here's the paper throw right at me. Perfect. So that's where it goes. Monica throws to me. I throw all the way to birthday boy. Happy birthday to Evan. Happy birthday to Evan. Happy birthday to Evan. Happy birthday to Evan, even though I hate you.
Thank you. Love you guys. Love you too.
Yeah. Whatever. Shut up. Evan Massa, my birthday boy producer. Mike Guido here on the Haystack and the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll see you.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.